Shabbat Shalom. What a pleasure it is to have you with us tonight at Manna from Heaven Ministries. We want to begin to share with you some things that I feel like Father's speaking to me as an individual from this week's Torah portion. And I believe as I'm afforded the opportunity to stand in front of you and you're hearing this message, that it will also speak to you. Isaiah 55:11 says that His word will be just like it was when He released it initially at the birthplace of creation. His word will not return unto Him void. His word is still creating. Can you say amen? He's not stopped talking. There's a lot of people, everybody look at me for a second, there's a lot of people that are not hearing Him. And it's not because He's a mute. It's not because He stopped speaking. It's simply because we have not been able to hear. And that's why Yeshua made a statement more often than any other in the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament. He said, "Let he that hath an ear to hear, hear what the Ruach, what the Spirit is saying to the ecclesia, to the congregations in this last day." If there was ever a time that you need to be able to hear the voice of the Creator, it is now. And the predominant way that He's speaking to His people has not changed since Moshe penned at the unction of His Spirit the law, the Torah, there at Mount Sinai. It is primarily through the written Torah, the written Word. And if you will take the initiative to dig into the Word and allow Him, He will begin to speak to you. I share almost on a daily basis 2 Timothy 2:15. It has become my mantra, my mission statement. Study to show yourself approved unto Yah. Well, if there's ever a day and a time that we need to be approved unto Him, it's now. And it tells you how you can do that, and it's by rightly dividing the word of truth. The word for dividing there is a word in the Greek language that literally means to dissect it, to open it up and begin to look at it and see what's being said. I had someone today challenge me. And one of the points that they were challenging me on was the fact that I had made some statements about the Hebrew language being so pregnant and so alive. And that based on the context at the moment, the Hebrew language and individual specific words could have either a blessing or a curse, depending on your position in relationship to Him. Are you hearing me? And He's revealing some things. His word is literally Himself embodied in that vehicle. And if you want to be changed, conformed into His image in this last day, there's only one way that that's going to happen, and that is by digging in the Word and hearing what He has to say. That's the title of this Torah portion, Emor. It literally is translated as speak. And I want to be like Samuel. When I hear his voice, even though I may not have been as familiar with it as I would like to, when Samuel first heard the voice of the Creator, he was a young man, but he went to Eli, and Eli said, now you know what struck me there? If you go back and look at that particular story, you'll find that Eli was an aged prophet. He was a priest, and he had been accustomed to hearing the voice of the Creator, but there had been such a long disconnect, and his ears had become dulled, and he could no longer hear. But he was able to instruct Samuel. He said, next time you hear that voice calling you, say, speak, Yah, for your servant hears. Well, I want to be found in that condition. I want to be able to hear. I have to hear Him. Nothing satisfies this body that has been created, this soul. There's a vacuum, a cavity in here that cannot be filled. I don't care what your personal aspirations are. Nothing can satisfy you like the presence of the Creator on the inside of you. If you're outside a proper relationship with Him, you'll do like we've been prone to do in the past. You will look for some artificial source to fill that void. And it can't be filled. I've tried almost everything else that's imaginable, and nothing satisfies like He does. There's no more intoxicating high. There's no more of a captivating atmosphere than being able to sit down and hear Him speak to you. Well, is He speaking in an audible voice? Audible or not, when I begin to open this thing up and I see stuff in there that I've never seen before, I don't know what you can call it, but to me, He just Emored me. He just spoke to me. And some of you may say, well, I've been disconnected. I really haven't been able to hear Him like you're describing. Oh, I like that. I long for that. Well, let me just challenge you tonight. Pay attention to what I'm about to share with you. And if you can, you don't have to grasp and understand everything, but if you can get a little bit of this teaching tonight, and if you'll get the notes and the CD afterwards, you'll get even more. But if you can get a little bit of this, that's an indicator that you're able to hear Him. And He will be speaking just as surely to you as He was to me when He gave this to me. I believe that. Do you believe it? Well, let's get into this Torah portion. The title of it is Emor, and it begins in Leviticus chapter 21, verse 1, through chapter 24, verse 23. And I have found that I never get very far into these Torah portions. This thing was like 3 chapters long. And I think if I go back and look at it, I probably spent this 6 pages of notes on this one word that was the title. You just can't get away from it. His word, the best description I can give you, it's like an onion. And if you've ever peeled an onion, you know that when you begin to get that outside layer off, my goodness, there's another one. How many of you have ever tried to peel an onion? And I'm serious. Since I started studying the Torah, I've actually spent some time just doing that. A little thin layer, peel it off. My goodness, there's another one under there. Peel that one, and there's another one under there. Once you get the first outside dried layer, how many of you know that it really doesn't make you cry? The odor's not really that pungent. You start peeling off more layers. My goodness, you begin to get into what really makes that onion what it is. The more you peel, the more you begin to open it up, you begin to be affected by it. The aroma. Are y'all beginning to see what I'm talking about? Well, just start peeling off a few layers. You can get through this dry outside cover, and that might satisfy you. But if you'll peel that off and begin to go back into what's still alive and viable, and the more you begin to open it up, this thing will make you cry. I promise you. It will stagger you. Well, that word, Emor, which is the title of the Torah portion, I want to begin to look at it. It's actually written with 3 Hebrew letters, the Aleph, the Mem, and the Resh. Strong's number 559 is where this word can be found in your Strong's Concordance. And this is where I want to begin our journey tonight. I want to begin to examine this word in the Hebrew language, and we're going to look at it from just about every vantage point that you can imagine. The root of the word Emor is the word Amar, and of course it means literally to speak. It is inferring the process of speaking. Are you with me? It's not something that was done in the past. It's literally inferring that the speaking is continuing now. It carries past, present, and future connotation. Just like the voice of the Creator. When Yahweh said in Genesis chapter 1, let there be, that wasn't the end of it. It's still creating. Well, this word Emor literally infers that. He is now, at present, speaking to you, and this same word will be alive and viable 20 years down the road. If you notice in this particular first few verses here, Yahweh says, verse 1, and Yahweh said unto Moshe, speak unto the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say, there, I want you to underline the word speak. Speak unto Moshe. And notice again it says, and Yahweh said, underline the word said, and Yahweh said unto Moshe, speak, and then unto the priests of sons of Aaron, and say unto them. The word said, the word speak, and the word say are all the same Hebrew root word. Now, you found, if you've been around Manna from Heaven Ministries for any length of time, when Father repeats something, He's trying to emphasize something that's hidden here. And He's calling your attention to it. Now, if you're just a casual student, you're going to miss it. Wait a minute. What was that? Come off of this? Hello. Somebody say amen right there. Well, 3 times the word Emor is seen in this particular verse. Don't you just love it? This is live. There ain't no telling what might happen. That number 3 is very conspicuous. The number 3 happens to be the numeric value of 2 very powerful Hebrew words. The Hebrew word Av for father, written with an aleph beit. And you know, you can take and turn that word around. You have aleph beit, Av, and turn it around, beit aleph, it's the word bow. Av, of course, meaning father, bow means come. So that number 3 tells you, when you combine it with this word Emor, it's literally saying that he, the father, the one that is speaking here, he's letting you know that the he, the one who's coming, originates from the Father. And he's talking about the written word that was vocalized. And of course we know the word made flesh manifested in the earth was Messiah, Yeshua. And this word is telling you, in the midst of the speaking that Father's doing, he's literally releasing himself into the earth. And the purpose for releasing himself into the earth was to reproduce himself. And so his word becomes seed. Word and seed are synonymous. Do y'all get that? Well, if you look at the Hebrew letters, Aleph, Mem, Resh, and then reverse them, you have Mem, Resh, Aleph. That particular word in Hebrew, marah, literally connotes something or someone that's perverse and rebellious. Remember, we're talking about seed here. Emor. It means to speak. So when you hear the word seeds being planted in you, are you following me? And if you reverse these letters, it's inferring an individual whose constitution is bent towards being rebellious and perverse in the process. So, you remember the law of Genesis. The law of Genesis tells you that everything reproduces after its own kind. And so, listen to me. Everybody pay attention. If you are an individual who's given to a rebellious and perverse nature, that means that the seed that was planted on the inside of you is what's determined that. Did y'all get it? If I'm an individual who's rebellious, that means I have had the seed of rebellion planted in me. That means that's what I've been listening to. That's why you need to qualify what, come on, you young folks may get upset. You need to go back and qualify what some of your children are listening to. And they're only going to listen to it because we've been promiscuous in our hearing ourselves, and we've been listening to the same things. No, go back and look at when James Brown used to slide across the auditorium. Hello. Are y'all hearing me? I used to love me some James Brown. It's a man's world. That's still my favorite. Say amen right there. But when you go back and start looking at the things that we used to put on the inside of us, hear me. This is what Yah's telling you. This Torah portion is trying to convey to you a powerful message. Be careful what you're allowing on the inside of you, because that's going to form you as an individual. This word Emor is very powerful. The root of it is the Mem Resh, the word Mar, and that indicates rebellion. And of course, it's associated with Marah, the bitter waters. And in Numbers chapter 5, you can see it again, the bitter waters of jealousy. When a wife was accused of adultery, and how many of you know that we represent the wife of the Creator? And if we have been given to pagan idolatrous practices, then we are indeed guilty of adultery. And so we stand before Him accused, and that's because we have a rebellious nature. Well, we know the Messiah took the penalty for the adulterous bride, and so if that's a process that's taken place, and we will avail ourselves of that and not go back to it. Do you follow me? Stay away from those things. If you're a crack addict and you get delivered from it, you're an abject fool 3 months later to go hang around a crack house. Well, I'm just going over there to get them saved and delivered. Let's break that word down in the Hebrew language. Emor, same root. Aleph, Mem, Resh. The Aleph represents the Messiah, the strong one. You have the Hebrew letter Mem, of course it represents water, living water, and it can also infer chaos. And of course that word Mem, if you look at the way it's drawn pictographically, it looks like the picture of a womb. And how many of you know that the waters of the womb can indeed be chaotic, even though they have life inside of them? Hello? Why? Because the seed on the inside of it Now, you can't